Okay, welcome to JDS Sport Talks video, and this video actually had quite a few things I want to talk about, but I shortened them down to make it purely AFL based considering season has just restarted. So I had a few tennis things that I was going to talk about, but I scrapped them. So about not uploading yesterday as well, I had a little scratch match for my footy season. It was sort of like it wasn't really a scratch match. You can't do a scratch match. That was not English, was it? It wasn't really a scratch match. It was more like an internal. It wasn't like versus another team. It was because my team's so big. It's two teams. We've got A and a B. It was us versus. It was like just an even. I mean, it's like a scratch match in training. I don't know how else to explain it. Let's get into the actual video now. First of all, McCarthy. I said I'd come back and tell you what happens. He's been diagnosed with a form of epilepsy. I don't know much about epilepsy or anything to do with that, so I am not going to talk on it much. But there will be a link in the description to an article talking about his epilepsy. The other thing I want to talk about, obviously because the season has just started, it is currently Sunday. Fremantle have just played and lost to the Brisbane Lions. Last night, Geelong won over Hawthorn. Yeah, Geelong easily won over Hawthorn. And the first game was an absolute shit show. It was 36-36. It was horrific. Collingwood actually looked decent early on, to be fair. It was going to be a normal game. Collingwood looked decent. Richmond came back into the game a little bit. But the game in general, was not a good quality game. It was not good to watch. It was not really massively enjoyable. Like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like watching it, it didn't seem that bad. But then you look at the stats and just the way the game was played looking back, it was not a good game. It was like a first game of the season, which is the second game of the season, but it was like a bad first game of the season. It was fumbly, it just was not a good game. It was 36-all as well, which is pretty bad for AFL match, even short an AFL match. 36-all was pretty bad. The two games since it was 5 minutes into the one today, Fremantle and Brisbane, and it was 36-38. And they were 5 minutes into the second quarter, so I should have finished what I said. 5 into the second quarter, there's 4 quarters in the game. They'd already had a higher scoring match than the other game, and it was not a one-sided game either. So I don't know, that was just a bad game. And two decent teams as well. Two teams have been high up there recently. I said Collingwood were missing the little thing. I know what that thing is now. I think it's their ability to play out a game. But that doesn't do much. One good thing came out of the game, well, not a good thing that came out of it, just a good thing they did. They kneeled to all the Black Lives Matter stuff. I think that happened every game so far. I think they'll continue to do it for now. So they kneel before every game for like 30 seconds or so around the centre circle, which is a good thing. We need to support them as much as we can at the moment. The other games since have been decent. We had the Geelong Hawthorn one, which was fairly close at the start. I mean, Geelong pulled away at the very beginning. Hawthorn caught up. It was fairly even for about half time, and then Geelong just pulled away towards the end. It was a 6-goal win or something, somewhere around there. I don't remember the exact score. But yeah, Geelong did win fairly comfortably in the end. Actually, no, very comfortably in the end. And the Fremantle Brisbane game was close. And there was a few bad umpiring decisions in there. Like there was one with Rory Lobb. It was either Rory Lobb or Taberner. He took a mark. He landed on the floor, and the opposition guy who'd been jumped up next to him bumped his other arm. He'd already taken him up for about 2 seconds. So basically, it's kind of like he chopped his arm unintentionally. He jumped, had his arm up. He had his ball in his hand, marked it. He'd come down, and the other player landed on his shoulder, twisting his arms like this, which meant he dropped the ball. Which in AFL, that is considered still a mark, but it was not given a mark. It was given a no mark. Which in the end, because of the goal scored in the last second of the game, didn't matter. But if Brisbane hadn't scored that goal literally in the last second of the game, then it would have really mattered. Because it would have lost by more. There's no way the guy would have missed a goal, because it was literally, he marked it. How do I explain this without? Can you see my desk now? Say this is the goal line. He marked it there, and it wasn't given a mark. So he would have scored the goal. And yeah, so they would have considered them. Well, they might still, because they always find someone else to blame but themselves. But they would have considered it completely wrong, and they would have been accurate if Brisbane hadn't scored that goal right at the end. Eagles playing tonight against Gold Coast. I thought it was Essendon, but it's actually Gold Coast. Google's been saying Essendon all week. I don't know why it's wrong, but they've been saying, definitely been saying. I searched up West Coast Eagles, and it came up with our next game as being Essendon. But it's Gold Coast. Should be a pretty easy win, I'd say. I reckon they will fight with us for the first quarter and a half, 2 quarters, so about halfway through the game, just before, and then we'll slowly pull away. Or we will play poorly and play catch up like we have to a lot of the time, but we always find a way to win it. It's going to be harder this season though because of the shortened games, because of the coronavirus. So we're going to have less time to make the gap up against the better teams. But we should be fine tonight. It's just when we verse teams like Collingwood, Richmond, Geelong, any of the top teams in the league this year is when we'll have trouble with that if we try and continue doing what we've been doing for a few seasons. It's worked. We won a premiership doing it, but it might not work so well this season when we have less time to catch up. That's what I'm going to talk about for today because I don't really have much else to talk about. It's been JDS. Thanks and bye. See you next time. See ya.